what may be one of the strangest stories we've encountered in a long time. A Maine Democrat Senate candidate is also, he's both simultaneously a Nazi and a communist. It's a Simpsons joke, but apparently it's real. Graham Plattner's got a Totenkopf tattooed on his chest. That is specifically the skull and crossbones symbol used by the SS in charge of administering the death camps in Nazi Germany. And you know what's really funny and probably unsurprising is that liberals are defending him. I kid you not, and it should be expected. Articles are coming out talking about why it's no big deal. Everyone's favorite progressive commentator, Crystal Ball, says, I'd rather have the guy with the tattoo than someone supporting a genocide. And then someone says, are you familiar with what that symbol is meant to represent? Because this is absolutely crazy. Now, what's funny here is I think some of these people on the left who are just blindly supporting this guy, knowing full well he has a Nazi tattoo on his chest. Apparently, he said he's gotten it removed. He didn't get it removed before. What I find funny is the unifying factor in this guy being supported by the left, having a Nazi tattoo, is that he don't like Israel. It goes to show. I'm fairly certain if you had a guy come out who claimed to be an overt Nazi, but he said the only thing he wants is to end Israel, they'd agree with him. And they'd say things like, we don't agree with everything he says, but he's right about Israel. But guys, I'm not here to have an Israel debate. I don't care. I'm here to have the left is a cult debate. Right now, Donald Trump is building a ballroom. It's beautiful. Big, beautiful ballroom at the White House, East Wing. It's great. He's expanding the White House. It's very cool. The left is apoplectic. Liberals freaking out. Hillary Clinton losing her mind. Why? Well, you remember when they were tearing down all those statues? And I'm not talking about the Confederate ones. I'm talking about Jefferson and Columbus. They were tearing them down. And they said, well, it's time for a change. They were racists and slave owners. Donald Trump is building a new ballroom, and once again, they're losing their minds. If something preserves American culture and tradition, they hate it. That's really what defines both of these phenomena. So we'll talk about that. And then as far as it goes with the tattoos, remember when Pete Hegseth, they claimed it was a dog whistle because he had Christian tattoos? You got a Democrat with a literal Totenkopf on his chest. I also want to stress, apparently he disparaged black people, and he also claims to be a communist. So, whatever, I guess. Bernie endorsed him. We'll talk about that and a lot more. Before we do, my friends, we got a great sponsor for you today. My friends, it is Backyard Butchers. Guys, I love me a good ribeye. I was a filet guy for a while, but I'm going towards those ribeyes now. You guys have heard of Big Pharma? No, you have. There's also Big Ag, Big AG, Big Agriculture, we call it. 85% of American meat is controlled by just 4 companies. Just because you buy American doesn't mean you're buying healthy, and buying organic only means they control what the cattle eat, not how they live. Backyard Butchers Texas steer steaks come directly from a real Texas ranch where cattle are raised, processed, and shipped from the same location, completely bypassing Big Ag. These Texas steers are 98% grass-fed, 2% natural grain finished, with no growth hormones, no antibiotics, no preservatives. The quality and flavor are exceptional. Make America healthy again starts with going back to our roots and eating real meat from hardworking ranchers who raise cattle right. Go to backyardbutchers.com/Tim. Enter promo code Tim for up to 30% off, 2 free 10-ounce ribeyes, and free shipping when you subscribe. Like I said, I was a filet guy for a while, a nice, medium rare filet. But I've been going for the ribeyes because I just love the fatty parts. I'm a ribeye guy now. Fight back against Big AG with your fork. Support American ranchers. Support Texas. Backyardbutchers.com/Tim. Promo code Tim. Shout out. We got it from Fox News first. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to also smash that like button. Share the show right now. If you're watching live, take that URL. Post it wherever you can because unity is our strength. From Fox News, Maine Democratic Senate candidate insists he's not a secret Nazi after controversial tattoo reveal. Graham Plattner said he received security clearance in the Army after getting the tattoo. So here he is. I suppose I should probably just find the tweet where we show his tattoo. Is this it right here? Yeah, let's zoom in there a little bit. Graham Plattner, a far-left Democrat candidate running for U.S. Senate in Maine, has a Nazi tattoo on his chest. The skull and bones on his chest is called a Totenkopf, and it was used by Hitler's SS. I want to stress, the image on his chest is not some random skull and crossbones, okay? I think we have it right here. This is literally the second version of the SS Totenkopf, used from 1934 to 1945. Now, there is the initial from 1923 to 1934, and this was, I believe it was Hitler's bodyguard unit, which eventually became the Schutzstaffel. They say it was the organization responsible for administering the Nazi concentration camps and extermination camps in Nazi Germany, along with similar duties. Well, the Totenkopf was a universal cap badge of the SS. The SSTV also wore the insignia on the right collar tab. The Totenkopf was also used as the insignia of the panzer forces of the German army and also the panzer units of the Luftwaffe, including those of the elite Fallschirm Panzer Division 1 Hermann Göring. Both the 3rd SS Panzer Division and the Waffen-SS and the World War II era Luftwaffe 54 Bomber Wing, it's hard to read all this German, guys, Kampfgeschwader 54 were given the unit name Totenkopf and used a strikingly similar looking graphic skull and crossbones insignia. So here's a guy, it's this one. Here's a guy, he's literally got it on his chest. It's funny because, what do we have? Where's the, I've got the story pulled up. There's so much stuff to go through. I wanted to pull up the, I don't know where I have this story. I thought it was here somewhere. It's about Pete Hegseth, and they're attacking him over his Christian nationalist tattoos. They say, Maine Democrat Senate candidate and former Marine Graham Plattner denied he was a secret Nazi. Plattner's campaign shared a video with Pod Save America podcast that showed Plattner lip-syncing to Miley Cyrus's Wrecking Ball at his brother's wedding about a decade ago. In the video, Plattner is shirtless and appears to have a skull tattoo on his chest that resembles the Totenkopf. It's literally the Totenkopf. I am not a secret Nazi, Plattner said. Actually, if you read through my Reddit comments, I think you can pretty much figure out where I stand on Nazism and anti-Semitism and racism in general. The story is that, I guess, he got drunk one day in Croatia, and he was like, look at that skull and crossbones. You should put that on my chest. And then they did. Plattner said he got the tattoo in a Croatian parlor after getting very inebriated. Did he ever, perhaps, I don't know, consider having it removed? Because there's several ways to remove it. You can cover it or laser removal. It's not expensive. At no point in this entire experience of my life did anybody ever once say, hey, you're a Nazi. It never came up until we got wind that in opposition research, somebody was shopping the idea I was a secret Nazi with a hidden Nazi tattoo. And I can honestly say that if I was trying to hide it, I've not been doing a very good job for the past 18 years. Plattner quickly faced backlash for the video, including from the National Republican Senatorial Committee. This comes less than a week after he was caught advocating for political violence, saying that black people don't tip, calling police, which is a slur, calling Maine's lobstermen pieces of ish. What's next? Oh my God, the thing that the liberals are willing to defend, it's just crazy. Although Plattner suggested, did not think the symbol meant anything beyond a skull and crossbones. His former political director, Genevieve McDonald, reportedly wrote on Facebook that he knows damn well what it means. This is seriously the dumbest timeline. Graham has an anti-Semitic tattoo on his chest. He's not an idiot. He's a military buff. He's a military history buff. Maybe he didn't know it when he got it, but years ago. And he should have had it covered up because he knows damn well what it means. The vault is open for the GOP to effing crush any dreams we had in the general, and literally everyone I know is fighting with each other on social media. We cannot be this painfully stupid. Fox News reached out to Plattner's campaign for comment. He's attempting to take on Susan Collins of Maine recently. Came under fire last week for Reddit posts from 2018 in which he wrote that all police are B-word, and he called himself a communist. In a separate post, he argued that if people expect to fight fascism without a good semi-automatic rifle, they ought to do some reading of history. This is the craziest candidate. I don't even know what to say about this guy, to be honest. He's got a Nazi tattoo. I don't think anybody can have a tattoo that long and just literally not know it's a Totenkopf. So apparently they're saying he got rid of it. Maine U.S. Senate candidate apologizes for a tattoo with Nazi links. Oh, my God. These people are evil. Guys, I don't care if you have a Nazi tattoo. Okay? Not my cup of tea. Not a fan of it. And I probably wouldn't want to associate with you. Okay? Seriously. If I had a friend who started getting Nazi tattoos, I'd have an intervention for him. And if he wants to go down that path, that ain't for me. People are allowed to have opinions, even bad ones, as long as they're not being violent towards other people. then that it is what it is. Now, the left is advocating for policies that are violent. If neo-Nazis come forward and say, we want racial segregationist policies, I will argue and debate with them and shut them down to the best of my abilities, the same as any other ideology I do not like. But this guy, the New York Times, Nazi links? It's literally the Totenkopf. It's identical. It is the same symbol specific to the Nazis. This is not some Jolly Roger. There's a if you look on the Wikipedia, there's a whole bunch of other different. It's called the Dead Man's Head. Some people call it a Jolly Roger. See, 19th century Jolly Roger used by Barbary corsairs. Crossed bones with a skull. This one, the one he's got, Nazis. And this is what the New York Times does because it is a cult. They don't care what's true. They are lying, manipulating, and there are people who genuinely fall for this stuff. It's pretty wild. You know, Michael Malice describes it as, try explaining to somebody that the weatherman is lying to them. And they'd be like, what? Why? And that's what it is. They open the New York Times and they say, a tattoo with Nazi links? That doesn't sound so bad. The Nazis had a lot of tattoos, right? Yeah. Apparently, he's saying he got rid of it. I don't know. Take a look at this. Well, he's taken a dive. How sad for him. He was the 2-1 favorite over Janet Mills to win the Democratic nominee for the Senate race. And then people found out he may be a Nazi and a communist both simultaneously, and he fell off. It's unfortunate. They're trying as hard as they can to defend him. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you everyone's favorite Crystal Ball. Yo, Crystal used to be great. And then she just completely fell off. She says, for me personally, I'll take the candidate with a regrettable tattoo over one who has steadfastly supported genocide. That's where we're at. Crystal Ball, Nazi supporter. I don't know, the guy said he's not a Nazi, but come on. We're not playing this game. You didn't accidentally get a Nazi tattoo, dude. Okay? You could have removed it at any point. I guess he's a Nazi communist. Rate proposed community notes. Graham Plattner's Nazi Totenkopf tattoo, a.k.a. the death's head symbol, was used by the Nazi SS division responsible for running concentration camps during the Holocaust. Today, neo-Nazis use the symbol to glorify that genocide. He reportedly bragged about the tattoo. Did they really? Buchan, what are these? Let's pull up one of these links. He bragged about the tattoo. Reportedly, he called it my Totenkopf. Let's see what we have. It's probably the NRSC? I'm not a secret Nazi. Actually, if you read through my Reddit comments, I think you can pretty much figure out where I stand. But according to a person who socialized with Plattner, when he was living in Washington, he had specifically acknowledged that tattoo was a Totenkopf adopted. He said, oh, this is my Totenkopf. The former acquaintance told Jewish Insider recently, speaking on a condition of anonymity. He said it in a cutesy way. He's not an idiot. He's a military history buff. But wait, there's more. On Crystal Ball's tweet with 740,000 views, where she says she's going to support the guy with the Nazi tattoo over the person who steadfastly supported genocide. I don't think she knows what the symbol means, but sure. Here's Raymond G just says revolution. Zaid Jelani, I'm glad you're not falling for the psyop. It's pretty obvious what's going on. It is? What's the psyop? The guy's got a Totenkopf tattoo. That's it. They called Pete Hegseth a Nazi because he has Christian tattoos. That's it. They were Nazi symbols. This guy's got a literal Nazi tattoo, and they're saying he's not a Nazi. It is a psychotic death cult. Let's see. Scarlett tweets, and for the record, if a Republican got called out for it, they would probably double down and refuse to have it removed in cancel culture. He could have had it removed a long time ago. And Pete Hegseth's Christian tattoos were accused of being Nazi tattoos. Clint says, would rather have someone with a Nazi tattoo that is actually anti-Nazi than someone without a Nazi tattoo that is actually a Nazi. Ah! Let this be the greatest wake-up call. Please clip this as much as you can. Share it with everybody. If you're a guy who supports, like, Jesus Christ and you say you're not a Nazi, you're secretly a Nazi. If you're a guy with a literal Nazi tattoo on your chest, they'll say, yeah, but because he agrees with us, he's not a Nazi. Nazi doesn't mean what any of these people actually think it means. I hope you're sitting down. I need to tell you about who the tattoo is supporting. This is insane. What do you think that regrettable tattoo signifies? The regrettable tattoo supports genocide, but it was against Jews. So, okay, I guess. The funny thing is about all of this is that Crystal Ball is basically criticizing Israel, and you're allowed to. And so she's willing to excuse a guy with a Totenkopf tattoo because he is also anti-Israel. I mean, that's like, yeah. Okay, man, listen, it's funny when the Israel stuff comes up because I'm like, I care as much about Israel as I do about Burma. China spends $400 million lobbying the United States. AIPAC is not good, but it's not as big as a Chinese lobby. All of these things, the U.S., I think America first. We should be focusing on American interests. I like that Trump is going after criminal cartels. I don't want to be involved in Ukraine. But these people, man, they're willing to do some weird backward stuff over their hatred of Israel. I tell you what. We got a goose meme. Those are always fun. John Lebecki says, it's okay to be a Nazi with an SS tattoo as long as you're part of the right party. Yep. Here's Elon Musk sending his heart, throwing it to the crowd. Certainly, my response to Elon doing that was, oh, come on, bro. Kyle Kalinske says, not subtle. She responds, supported a bunch of Nazi-ish and then did this. I'm sure it's not related. Oh, man, Lord have mercy. Well, let's pull up our friends from Blue Sky. We got this one from Blue Sky. Anybody who is saying to give Graham Plattner a chance and that we shouldn't let the tattoo define him while not voting for Kamala due to letting Biden's presidency define her, thus not giving her a chance, I know exactly what you are. Someone said, I can buy the story of Graham Plattner getting a tattoo without doing your research and finding out its meaning later, especially with how normalized Nazi iconography still is in that corner of the world. The problem is that he still has the tattoo. The funny thing is about the Blue Sky stuff is they're actually criticizing him. These mainstream liberals are like, nah, he ain't. Blue Sky is like, nah, he ain't. Wait, is Graham Plattner, the U.S. politician with a Nazi tattoo, the same guy Hassan was trying to say was a cool communist when he literally worked for Blackwater? Graham Plattner saying the Are We the Baddies meme and thinking, hey, look at that. The good guys have my tattoo on their hat. Indeed. John Levine has this really funny post from Slate. He says, LOL Slate, nobody is confused. Are you confused about the Oyster Man turned Democratic Senate candidate with a Nazi tattoo? I'm here to help. Are you? Oh, here we go. I got to play a little bit of this from Pod Save America. Dan Pfeiffer, he's going to lay it down for us. Let me hear what you have to say.
Today's show, I'll be discussing the latest from Maine Democratic Senate candidate Graham Plattner, the state of the New York City mayoral race, and then answer your Discord questions. Joining me, as always, is Caroline Reston. Caroline, how are you?
All right, so I'm going to jump forward to him talking about Plattner.
Bigger debate after the post came out, and it really is a debate about two things. The future of the Democratic Party and the question of electability. Prior to the post coming out, the Senate Democratic leadership, Chuck Schumer, a lot of the people in the Democratic establishment believed that Janet Mills is the two-term governor of the state, she's won statewide multiple times, was the best candidate to run against Susan Collins, which is a very hard race to win. Others believe that Graham Plattner, who is an outsider, a populist reformer, someone who could potentially appeal to some of the working class voters we've lost, young men voters we've lost, might be a better option. And the people who thought that Mills was not the best case, one of the arguments was that she's 77 now. She'll be 85 by the time she leaves the Senate at the end of her first term. She's already said she's only going to serve one term. People raise concern about running a 77-year-old establishment politician in this political environment. On the Mills side, the argument was that Graham Plattner is untested and unvetted. And do we really want to send an untested, unvetted candidate up against Susan Collins in a race we absolutely have? Blah. We don't know how they will perform. The response has been pretty good. I think, if we're being totally honest, the posts are pretty bad. Many of them are bad. He's attributed them to things he posted online in a dark period of his life. Right after coming home from war, he was over. Yeah,
just a dark period in his life. And I want to stress this video came out 3 hours ago. And this is what he's talking about.
Online, he sort of, says he got his shit together, doesn't believe these things anymore. He's disavowed a lot of that, disavowed them and apologized for them, as he did in this interview and in a sort of a 5-minute direct-to-camera video that his campaign released over the weekend. And so the question is, how much does this matter?
I'd like to know about the Nazi tattoo.
Which is, everyone thinks they know. That's the bigger point here. Is I think anyone who is so positive about what voters want in this environment, about what defines the most electable candidate, really has been not I've been paying attention to politics for the last few years. Like, I think we all should have some real humility. Is an outsider with a bunch of bad posts better than an insider who happens to be the second least popular governor in America, according to one poll? I don't know. I don't think anyone else does either. So my argument is just like everyone should just chill the fuck out and let the voters in Maine decide, and we'll go from there. I think the deal.
Okay. All right. He had bad posts. You could talk about his tattoo, whatever. I mean, maybe he recorded it a while ago. Here's Politico. Plattner says he'll remove the tattoo that resembles Nazi symbol. You've got Jerusalem Post. Sanders-backed Democrat who accuses Israel of genocide has Nazi Totenkopf tattoo. I want to stress this. I'm not a fan of Nazis, neo-Nazis and white nationalists because they should be condemned totally. I agree with Donald Trump on that one. I also wouldn't vote for a guy with that tattoo. Yeah, I wouldn't do it. I don't know why Democrats would. Well, I guess I do because they're in a cult. But yeah. Steve Robinson says, I knew a guy who had some Latin King tattoos, 2 full sleeves, but he wanted to be a mucky muck in his union. So he had them lasered off. It's pretty simple and cheap these days. I'm curious if Plattner ever priced out the $700 service and thought, nah, not worth it. Well, apparently he said, it's my Totenkopf, so. Pod save Plattner. Obama bros described Hegseth tattoos as dog whistle before helping Maine Plattner fend off scrutiny for Nazi tattoo. Heavens me. What do we got here?
Where recruitment, are they just going to go off and recruit, MAGA people? Are they going to go off and recruit, white nationalists? And I don't say this just because the guy has a tattoo, but that's kind of who they're, that's who they're kind of putting out the bat signal to. And it's a little alarming, to think about what that might look like in 4 years if this guy does everything he says they're going to do. And what does he mean by DEI? I mean, because
and Biden have tried to work on it. Now it sounds like
blah blah. We get it. Here's the video. Everyone's laughing. And
first of all, what we're watching there was Graham wearing just his boxer briefs.
Silkies. Those are Marine Corps running shorts.
Pardon me. Silkies.
First
of all, great song choice. Tell us what's happening there, where you are. There's probably some listeners who are very confused.
Okay, you get the point. Are they going to do this with anybody else? Would they do this for a conservative who called his friends gay or retarded? No. They say they're all Nazis. So you get these group chats that come out, and it's a bunch of dumb young Republicans and, some political appointees and things like that. I think there's a few people elected to office in there, and they're saying untoward things that appears to be ironic, edgy jokes or otherwise. Everything is literal and absolute. 100%. One of my favorite memes was like, someone quoted the story and said, why would they call people gay and retarded? And the response was, because they're my friends. Yep. And so you end up with this scenario. Democrats will do anything to defend the guy because he's basically trying to empower them, and they'll excuse whatever. He's in the group. He can do no wrong. Graham Plattner asked why black people don't tip and referenced rape in old Reddit posts. Uh-oh. So listen, I'm going to say this. If somebody tries to run for office and they have a giant Nazi tattoo, I would say, how is it? I'm not going to trust it. I'm sorry. Why would you still have the tattoo? Why wouldn't you get it removed? I have questions and concerns about what this person would do in office. For the people that are overtly and literally praising Hitler and believing all of that stuff, I wouldn't want to vote for those people either. If someone's being ironic or edgy or otherwise, then, perhaps you can make some argument that people making jokes make jokes. He's also got a bunch of posts on Reddit. Let's take a look. In Reddit post from 2013, Democratic U.S. Senate candidate Graham Plattner asked why black people don't tip and suggested people concerned about being raped shouldn't be inebriated around people they don't feel comfortable with. That's actually kind of an interesting point. Well, where are his actual posts? I want to see his posts. Okay, what did he say? I work as a bartender, and it always amazes me how solid this stereotype is. Every now and again, a black patron will leave a 15 to 20% tip, but usually it is between 0 to 5. There's got to be a reason behind it. What is it? I would like to ask all of you right now, what was wrong with that statement? He has made an observation as a bartender and provided a comment. His observation was typically black people will tip between 0 and 5%, and he's wondering what the reason is. It is a well-known trope, may be true, maybe not, but he's certainly experienced it, that the black community does not tip. And the reason why I say that is because there are tons of black people who do, and we're talking about a generality. It's the meme where the guy from Invincible says, women are on average 5'4", and the wife responds, I'm 5'6", then he sips his coffee. Because people typically make the joke that feminists and many women can't understand averages. The point is, we get individuals are individuals. Why are they mad about it? He's just like, I was a bartender, this is what I found. And they're like, you can't say that because it's wrong think. Indeed. Now, what about the assault? He said, the same year he responded to a post about underwear designed to prevent sexual assault. And he said, people should take some responsibility for themselves and not get so effed up they wind up having sex with someone they don't mean to. What's wrong with that? This is wild. Who is this guy? I will say this. For a guy who claims to be a communist with a Nazi tattoo, he is completely untrustworthy. He has made points that I think many people would find rational. That is, I'm not going to blame the victim of a rape. A woman walking down the street gets thrown to the ground and abused, or a young girl like we saw in Ireland. But there are many stories, for which I think he's referring, where a woman at a party gets inebriated. It's a question of whether, like, we don't actually know how it went down. There's no real proof of anything. After the fact, she says, you know what? I didn't want to do it. And so the guy goes to jail. Right. Those issues, like that famous poster where it said, Jill and John were drunk. Jill couldn't consent and John raped her. And it's like, wait. They were both drunk. Like, there are two adults with agency. This is what Democrats are mad at him about, and not the Nazi tattoo. Okay, to be fair, some leftists are calling him out for the Nazi tattoo. I'll give him that. This is the state of the cult of the left in the Democratic Party. Here's CNN. Historic Preservation Group urges pause on East Wing demolition as Trump pushes ahead with his ballroom. Well, I like this one. Vince Cogliani says, are you angry about Trump's new White House renovations? Join the left's Historic Preservation Society. And here's them setting fires, tearing down statues, flipping vehicles. Well, CNN says, Historic Preservation Group urges pause on East Wing demolition. Statue removals show how change is coming, even in the capital of the Confederacy. Oh, no, I understand being angry about the Confederacy, but they were tearing down, as I mentioned, Thomas Jefferson. CNN historians, defending history is complicated in the U.S. It is. It's time to go beyond destroying statues to building new ones. Indeed. Well, they tore down a statue of Frederick Douglass and Hans Christian Heg. Frederick Douglass was a former slave who fought against slavery. Hans Christian Heg joined the Union to fight against slavery, specifically over slavery, and died. And he is considered a hero in the Civil War. They tore all those statues down. They celebrated it. It's psychotic hypocrisy. Well, we'll see who wins next year, my friends. Now I'm going to be joined in just a moment. I believe we have, let me just make sure we have everything lined up. Laura Trump will be joining me to have a general conversation about the goings-on in all of these matters. And I got a lot to ask because, and things are getting pretty dark. So smash that like button, share the show right now with everyone you know. Follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. That interview is going to be up at 4 p.m. Rumble.com/theculturewar. And you can also find it at youtube.com/Timcast. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all. We'll see you all then.